What's the biggest promise your parents broke? Mine was about a dog. I was 10 when Dad promised we'd get one after we moved to the new house. First thing we'll do, he said, ruffling my hair. You'll have a buddy to grow up with. For months, I planned everything. The breed, Golden Retriever. The name, Scout. Where his bed would go in my room. I even saved my allowance for dog toys. Mom seemed less enthusiastic, but Dad kept fueling my dreams. Just wait until you're running around the backyard with Scout, he'd say. Moving day came, and I immediately asked when we'd go to the shelter. Dad looked uncomfortable. Let's get settled first, kiddo. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Each time I asked, the answer changed. After the kitchen renovation, when work slows down. Maybe for your birthday. My birthday came and went. No dog. Just a new bike I barely touched. One night at dinner, I couldn't hold it in anymore. When are we getting the dog you promised? Dad exchanged glances with Mom. Look, Michael, your mother and I have been talking. I never agreed to a dog, Mom cut in. Your father shouldn't have promised without discussing it with me. But you never said no, I pointed out, my voice cracking. You let me believe it for months. I didn't want to disappoint you, she said. So you're disappointing me now instead? Dad sighed. Your mom's allergic, buddy. We can't have a dog. I stared at them. Mom's been allergic this whole time, and you still promised? The silence was answer enough. I pushed away from the table and ran to my room, slamming the door. Through the wall, I could hear them arguing. You knew I was allergic. Why would you promise him that? I thought you could take medicine or something. He was so sad about moving. So you made a promise you knew we couldn't keep. Great parenting, John. I buried my face in my pillow. It wasn't just about the dog anymore. It was about the lies. The next morning, I refused to speak to either of them. This continued for days. I'd come home from school, do my homework, and stay in my room. Mom tried bribing me with my favorite meals. Dad suggested we build a treehouse instead. I wasn't budging. One evening, Dad knocked on my door. Can we talk? I shrugged, not looking up from my book. He sat on the edge of my bed. I messed up, kiddo. I shouldn't have promised something I couldn't deliver. Then why did you? I asked, finally meeting his eyes. Because I wanted to make you happy. Because saying yes is easier than saying no because... He paused. I thought maybe I could convince your mom eventually. That's not fair to anyone, I said, surprising myself with how adult I sounded. No, it wasn't, he agreed. I've learned something important from this, Michael. Promises matter. When you make one, you better be damn sure you can keep it. I nodded slowly. I can't get you a dog, but I can promise to be honest with you from now on, even when the truth isn't what you want to hear. Can you forgive me? I thought about it. I'm still disappointed. I know, and I still want a dog. I know that too. We sat in silence for a moment. Maybe we could volunteer at the animal shelter, I suggested. I could at least play with the dogs there. Dad smiled. That's a great idea. We'll go this weekend. I did forgive him eventually, and we did volunteer at the shelter every Saturday for years.